They shoot her with morphine, stick her on a table, and they cut her guts open and try to get the baby out.
Holy shit.
How she stayed sane? Marcus, I bet she's pregnant. I said, you think so, man? He said, yeah, she's pregnant. No, she slept with a gorilla. She was just trying to get free. She thought if I get pregnant, one of them was pregnant.
That's where I was going next.
And how she stayed sane, what she went through. I mean, we got into if you want to ask me the question, set it up. But, we got into that camp and there's a few women there, right? And so Clara was an attorney and she was working on Ingrid Betancourt's presidential election. And then you had another woman there, Consuela, who was next to us. We called her Big Mama, but just like she talked to Mark and I, was very kind. Like she had listened to her husband die on the radio, or her daughters tell your dad's dying. And then, another woman, one of the senators. So Clara's a little eclectic. She's a little different, right? But she was a decent person. And Mark goes, hey, man, take a look at her. I'm like, what? He goes, look. And she had sweats on. She had that little egg shape. She's a very small, petite woman. Mark goes, I bet she's pregnant. I said, you think so, man? He said, yeah, she's pregnant. Mark saw it first. And so as it became obvious she was pregnant, she got no care, no anything. I think her prenatal care was an extra box of crackers and some fucking canned milk. And I remember, she was taken hostage with Ingrid Betancourt, right? And just trying to protect reputation, Betancourt's like, oh, no, there were some other hostages, civilians, and they had a relate. No, she slept with a gorilla. She was just trying to get free. She thought if I get pregnant, they got to let me go. Fuck no, they don't. And so
they didn't rape her?
No. It was a plan. No, it was a plan. That wouldn't have been allowed. Not allowed at all. Not given the credit, but that wasn't allowed. So they take her out when she's about to deliver, but she's not delivering. And so one night we hear a baby screaming in the fucking camp. Now, of course, the women that are with us are either grandmothers or moms, or their radar's up. Like 3 days later, maybe I could be off 4 or 5 days, and we would hear the baby screaming. They bring the baby back with Clara into the camp, into the camp, right? And the baby is wrapped up from head to toe, and they give it to us. Well, here's how Clara gave birth. They got a guy who's supposedly the medic that's never had medical training in his life, just self-taught guy of a book. They shoot her with morphine, stick her on a fucking table, and they cut her guts open and try to get the baby out.
Holy shit.
I got to give a woman strength. You got to get whatever, man. You got to give. So in trying to get the baby out, Milton, who would later take over for us, never spent a day in a school or anything, broke the baby's arm in half trying to get around her stomach. So when they bring the baby back to us, the baby's drugged up and the arm's wrapped. Emmanuel is what Clara named him. How Clara stayed sane with that, I give her kudos. And so Clara, eventually we couldn't stop the baby from crying, and Mark goes, I think they're drugging the baby up. Mark was pretty on to it. There's a reason that he was an intel analyst. He would pick, I was pretty good, but he sees me, so they're drugging the baby up. So they took the baby from Clara. So here's Clara laying in a bunk next to me, just hard wood. When I say bunk, it's just wood pallets, right? And the baby's crying at night. She'd go call his name at the fence, Emmanuel, Emmanuel. And then you see another gorilla girl carrying your baby when we're marching and leaving, and you're sitting there on the ground, and they won't even let you touch the baby. And you fucking stay sane. Give that woman credit. We didn't agree on a lot of things, but give her credit.
They cut her.
Yep, they cut her open, did a C-section on a table in a fucking jungle. And when they sewed her up, it was like this, oh my God. And she survived. I got to say, tough, man. She survived. And here was the worst thing, or no, the best thing. They went and gave the baby, when they separated Clara from the baby, they gave the baby to some campesinos that were FARC sympathizers. You know what the campesinos did? Straight to the fucking government and handed the kid over. So the kid got care, got everything. And a little while later on the radio and all, the government's talking about, hey, Manuel, they don't even know that the government care. You know, here's what we did for the kid. He's in good shape. And the president comes out, yeah, he's in good shape. We've had him for a fucking year. So mud on the face of the leadership, right? And they released her on just like trying to gain some, but they released Clara. But I don't care, I thought Clara was a little odd and a little different, but she's an attorney. And, but to see a woman go through that, I got a lot of respect for her, man. Got a lot of respect for that, and,
How long was the baby in there before they gave it away?
I think that once they separated the baby with Clara, I think maybe months until that couple got out and turned it into the government, which was the right, they did. They might have got a reward or I don't know. But Emmanuel, well, I haven't heard in a few years, but after we're freed, he's with his mom, he's healthy, they're living together, he's okay, right? Got fixed, so a happy ending. But that's what animals are, and they're animals. So for me, just sitting there watching that, the pain that person would go through was just unbelievable. More disgusting stuff that people are capable of. But how could you do that to a baby, right? So for us, another one of the Patreon folks had a question at the initial setup out there about what is captivity like in the jungle with the FARC. The best way I can say it is Groundhog Day for 5.5 years or 10 years, no matter how long you're there. It's all green. You're going to eat rice, lentils, rice, maybe some fish if they catch them in the river, hopefully a little fried yuca, okay? And you're just going to move from spot to spot to spot to spot, hiding. That's all you do. And you can never see more than 20 or 30 yards unless you're on the move and you see something. It's Groundhog Day. It's just what is going to come up next. What problem is going to come up next? We were being moved, and my company I retired from, I have to say, Northrop did the right thing for the families. Northrop Grumman, I can't say enough about what they did for the families while we were gone. But
what did they do for the families?
A good example, my son said to me, he said, Dad, you want to know how to tell what size corporate jet you're on? I said, what's that? He said, the size of the flat screen TV, making a joke. But they took care of the families. They paid us, which they didn't have to do. The government and Longshoremen's Act could have come in and paid it. They said, no, they're going to get full pay. They have their jobs. They had a family service person that would come and visit with each family regularly, update us politically. They did all that they could do. And they could have cut us loose. The government was like, well, we'll take this over. And they're like, no. They're our employees. We're going to do right by them. So I have to give them credit. They did right by us. And I remember, we're on the run one day, and this is getting close to the end, to the rescue, maybe a year out, maybe less. And so this guy, we're sitting there on the side of the damn river, and we're just going down a river. We're running, though. We know there's pressure on us. And this guy walks up with this tube, and he said, the commandant wants to know what this is. Well, it's a camera system that sits on the ground. You guys have installed in places. Well, this one was called Scorpion. And it's made by my company, proudly so, right? So I was like, fuck, where did you get that? So he's trying to take it off. And I said, don't do that. And he goes, well, I said, because it's pressurized. And he said, well, will you explain this to us? And I said, yeah, can we have some coffee? Small trade. But this is one of our little ground sensors, right? You can just Google it it's nothing, it's no big classified system, but I was thinking, fuck, our people are here. And we had just heard on the radio, and the U.S. government admitted that some of your folks in 7th Group were on the ground with the Colombians. I was like, shit, they're finally fucking here.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.